was nothing. I was broke. I had no money. I think I went to LA with like $400, and luckily my manager at the time, he believed. I had to grow up a lot faster than a lot of my friends and the people around me to survive.
Hello, my fellow Martians. My name is Harry Mars, and this is the On Mars Pod, where we take a deep dive into creative professionals, entrepreneurs, and other inspiring Martians alike.
If I say no, I will wonder the rest of my life if that move could have been the move that would change my life forever. I'm not concerned about when. That's inevitable. I can't change that. What I'm concerned about is making sure that when it happens, I'm ready. I do it for the passion. I do it to change people's lives because I know growing up, music was a release for me. It was a form of therapy, and it helped change my life.
Hello, my fellow Martians. Today on Mars, we are joined by an independent artist, singer, and a professional dancer. Everybody, please welcome Michael Minelli. Thank you so much for being here today,
Clap
man.
for me, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad the audience could be here with us.
Yeah.
It's a packed house. It's sold out. Yeah, we're here, but everybody's being quiet, so they're helping us out.
We got to calm the audience down here. They're being a little rowdy, but so Mike just got off a massive Euro tour with Anise.
Yes.
And I mean, massive in the sense that it's a really big deal. It wasn't a lot of shows, but it was your first time in Europe.
Yeah.
And we are going to definitely get into that, but I just wanted to preface that, like, this dude is making big moves right now, but so super grateful to have this here.
Man. 2024, baby. We leveling it up.
It's been a long time, man. You've been making music for a very long time, and I do kind of want to start. You grew up in Connecticut.
Yep.
So I just want to talk about that, growing up in Connecticut, and passions early on and hobbies. What were you doing out there when you were a kid?
Being just a kid. It's like one of those things where you're just born where you're born, and like that's all you know. And so for me, just like anywhere, I'm just a product of my environment, and just living life and just kind of just being a kid, right? Like it was the same thing as everybody, riding bikes, hanging out with your friends, like school, doing all that stuff, and just being me. While also just finding my love for music.
Absolutely. So when you were a kid, it's just like, because you grew up in the late 80s and 90s, is that right?
The 90s.
Yeah, so you were a kid in the 90s, so you grew up just like when I did, so you didn't have phones, you didn't have technology, so you were outside, you were playing sports and hanging out with the neighborhood kids and all that.
It was big, like, you knew where you were when you saw like 6 bikes in the front parking lot.
Oh yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? Like, so it was simpler times for sure, where you just went around and have fun and just kicked it.
Cool, man. Yeah. So growing up, did you have like siblings and stuff that you were hanging out with, and did you guys hang out a lot?
I hung out with my older cousin. He's 1 year older than me.
Okay.
And I have a younger sister. We hung out as well, but just like anything. I hung out with my cousin a lot, and then I just had like a core group of friends that like I was always the neighborhood gang.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
What I'm saying? Where you ride out and you form like your little bike gang, and you dip around, and also like I played sports, so I would be chilling with my friends on my team. And then just kids in school and shit like that.
Hell yeah, man. No, I definitely relate. And it's funny, like when you say when you know where everyone's at because where their bikes are.
Yeah.
It's just like,
no, that's real.
Just all in the front.
Yeah. Back in the day, that's like, I'd be riding around. I'd be like, oh shit, they're over there.
Yeah.
Let me pull up on them real quick. So,
hell yeah, dude.
Yes,
just different times.
Yes, sir.
So then I know your parents growing up were ballroom dancers.
Yeah.
And you said your grandparent was a singer as well. So you were influenced by the arts.
Yeah.
So I guess like, can you talk about that and like what kind of influence that had, and like how old are you when they were doing these things?
I literally was born into it.
Oh wow.
So even before I was born, my mom was a professional ballroom dancer, and my dad got into it because of my mom.
Wow.
Right. So she owned It's called Arthur Murray Dance Studio. She owned one of like the places in Connecticut. And she was traveling around all over the country doing like ballroom competitions and stuff like that. So early in my life, I was traveling with them,
Wow.
watching. And as I got a little older, I would even do some of the competitions. I stopped ballroom dancing because I didn't like wearing dress shoes.
Wow.
Yeah, like I didn't
No
like.
way.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this ain't me. Like I want to wear sneakers, and I'm not this guy. So I stopped early, which is obviously a big regret because I feel like I could have really crushed in that lane. But yeah, kind of just like prepared me early on for performance and being an entertainer. My mom was a big personality. I would say that I get my personality from both my parents. My dad was, funny dude and could light up any room, but my mom had such a presence, and everyone, the stories that I hear, it's just like, when Debbie Minelli walked in a room, like you knew it. Right. And so like, I've kind of tried to carry that same energy as I grew into myself. Was like, no matter where I go, when I walk in a room, I want you to feel it, whether it's, yo, I know who that guy is. And like, he's amazing, or like, yo, who is that? Why is he so comfortable in any surrounding that he's in? So yeah. And then just like hearing stories from my family about my grandfather, right? Like it was the classic, yo, throw the 6 kids in a station wagon and ride around the country, and you're constantly moving because he's got residencies in different places. And back then he was touring with a 12-piece band, like horns and all that stuff, so like just hearing those stories, it always get me excited, being like, man, one day I want to do that, so it was like I always shot to like I don't want to say outlive, but like do it bigger,
right?
You know what I mean? Like I think we all strive to be like the greatest version of ourselves. And for me, it was like, cool, like he did that, I'm gonna do that times 100.
Yeah.
100%,
dude. It's cool that you were exposed to that entertainment industry so early, to that level too, where it's like they weren't just doing it as like hobbies. These were professional, trained entertainers.
I mean, that's how he provided for his family and my father and all my aunts and uncles, is traveling the country and performing songs. And back then you didn't have to write music. You were just performing other people's music. So like he was heavy in like Frank Sinatra. So he was doing a lot of Frank Sinatra records, and just super tight. But it's crazy because there's been a couple times in my life where I've run into people that knew him or saw him perform.
Really?
Very, very, like maybe like 3 people in my whole life.
In Connecticut?
Yeah. Okay. But it's just like, just to get that like, oh, like any relation to Dino Minelli. And it's like, yeah, that was my grandfather. Because I didn't meet him. He passed away before I was born.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I just go off of stories, but I think for my family, it's super dope for them to see me doing what I do now, because it's kind of like that like next legacy of Minelli.
Absolutely. They said it was written that you were going to be an artist or some type of entertainer.
So they went, they went and saw like a medium.
Yeah. Okay.
At some point, like my family.
Psychic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had said that somebody in my family was going to grow up and be like a famous musician.
That's insane.
So like, selfishly, I'm like, it's got to be me.
It's got to be.
And so like I always kept that in my head, where it was like, okay, like I know this is what I want to do. And for so many years I wasn't successful. And now I'm not even saying I am successful, but I'm making a living off of my art.
Absolutely.
And so I just keep playing into that and just keep working towards that. But yeah, super dope to, be able to say that I'm like adding to the Minelli like musical legacy.
Yeah, dude, that's the word, legacy, man. And when did they see that medium?
I was young, so I wasn't even in music yet.
Wow.
Like I was probably 7.
Okay. Dang, like first grade.
Yeah, like it was at a point where like music really wasn't at like I said, I'm playing with my friends and riding bikes and stuff like that and just being a kid.
Right.
And when they said that, I was like, cool. Like I'd love to sing. Like I was always, putting on little shows on the fireplace, like during family holidays and stuff like that, just singing and just always wanting the attention from my family. So yeah, it was kind of dope. It was kind of dope to just keep going with it.
So then in 4th grade is when you kind of started taking singing kind of seriously.
That was when I caught, like, that's when I caught the bug.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I knew, like, I was like, I love this feeling.
Yeah.
This is so cool, you know? Because up until then, I was kind of like just the class clown.
Okay.
And like the kid that like liked to have a good time and run around and smile, and nobody knew that I could sing. And honestly, I wasn't even a great singer, right? But I could hold a note. And I did a solo in like the school, not talent show, but it was like choir, right? Like choir shows, you know how you had those back in the day. And I fought for the solo.
Hell
and
yeah.
even my music teacher was just like, Mike, stop. You don't do this. And I'm like, no, I can't.
do.
Yeah, like I can do it. And I remember just coming in and like, you know, learning the solo. And it was like, I remember, I forgot, it was like, he gave me like 3 days or something like that to learn it. And like, I went home and I'm like writing down the lyrics, like
Wow.
to memorize them and just like study and practice and figure out how to sing it. And like, so that when I walked in there, like, I want to blow you away.
Yeah.
You know, like that's one thing about me is that, I'm a preparation guy. So
That's
like
good.
I will prepare because I'm not one of these guys that like is naturally gifted to sing anything in the world. You know, I really have to like learn something. And it's just like anything, like an athlete, like you watch film during the week
Right.
on the team you're about to play. Like that's how I look at it, right? Where it's like, okay, I got to sing this song. Cool. Let me learn this song. Let me learn where they take their breaths. Okay, I can't hit that note. How do I modify it to make it work for my voice?
Yeah.
You know, so and I went in there and I did it. And I just remember like all the parents after the show coming up and being like, we had no idea you could sing. Like, wow. This is incredible. So from that point on, yeah, it was, yo, no greater feeling in the world. This is what I want to do, which is kind of crazy thinking about it, you know, being in 4th grade and being
Right.
like, no, I want to
10 years old.
Yeah. Like I want to be a singer
Yeah.
for the rest of my life or an entertainer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
The fact that you were already having those professional practices, because that's very professional of you to like want to put that time in and, you know, practice and nail. So that way when you do get up on stage, you're like, this is the best version of this that I could have possibly put on.
Yep.
And because being a kid, it's so easy to just like take that shit for granted.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Not even think about it too hard like that.
Yeah.
And it's not till later years where it's just like you're told you have to practice is that people actually put the practice in. But you weren't told to do any of that. You were the one that had the initiative. And it might have been because of the examples that you had from your family that like they are professionals. I want to be at that level.
For sure.
So at 10 years old, you're like, I got to put the work in.
I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was
That's so sick.
Yeah. The discipline in me was very strong.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to do it.
Absolutely, man. So then did that translate into dancing as well? Because I know you're like professional, like hip hop dancer as well. And I don't know like what other styles of dance you're well versed in.
Yeah. I'm not even, I wouldn't even say I'm well versed, right? It was just like, I feel music.
Okay.
You know? And so for me, like I obviously had rhythm, and I enjoyed dancing. So like, and everyone kind of knew it, right? Like at like, you know, school dances and stuff like that. You'd be dancing and parties.
Circle.
Like circles and having dance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so like what happened was me and another friend of mine from my school were always dancing. And then we were hearing like talks from like the other side of town where there's this one kid that also does it. And so now we're like, oh shit. Yeah. Like at first we're like, nah, he can't outdance us. But then what came to be was once, I forgot when it was, maybe it was in high school when the two schools come together.
Yeah.
We like started dancing together. So everybody just knew us as like these three dudes who danced, you know? And I would say for me, like singing didn't come as natural. So dancing was just one of those things where we just started, and again, same preparation discipline where it was like, once we decided to do it, we were rehearsing 3 times a week. We were at this dance studio 3 times a week, just like practicing, working on routines, working on our craft, freestyling, videoing ourselves, watching ourselves, seeing what works, what doesn't work. And then we started doing competitions, like dance competitions and stuff like that, and started really getting our name out there.
Damn. In high school.
Yeah.
Wow.
In high school. And so, again, it was just like anything, right? Like you play a sport, you practice with your team. You do art, you're in art class, or after school you're painting and you're working on your craft.
Right.
For us, it was like, cool, during the week, like we're going to be at the studio working on routines and working on our craft. That's just what we did. Stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, dance kind of just like fell into the place of like, hey, this is working. We're making a name for ourselves. People are enjoying it, and it just kept us busy, honestly.
Man, I love that you were able to find like a crew in a way as well too, because that was like fueling your entertainment bug in a way, where it's like your entertainer bug, where it's just like you had other people to do this stuff with.
Yeah, and it was like we were genuine friends. So it was just fun. Like we're just getting together, and like some days we might not even dance that much. We might just clown around in the studio, you know what I'm saying, or joke or tell stories or plan. You know, yo, what do you think about doing this next year? What do you think about this? You know, so for me, it was like a safe space.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And it's cool that it's like not only were you guys having fun, but it was keeping you out of trouble. You guys weren't doing drugs. You guys weren't going partying all the time because you wanted to be the best version of you on the dance floor.
Yeah, we had to, and we didn't have time. I mean, like it was like, you know, dancing is such a energetic like thing to do that you have to be in tip top shape. You know, so like I was a late bloomer to like even drinking alcohol.
Yeah,
because I was busy dancing, right? Like and like never have done drugs in my life.
Wow,
you know,
man.
Just super focused. Never wanted to go down that route. I saw so many people do it and saw their lives transition that I was just like, nah, that can't be me.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure. And life gives you those examples of other people to kind of learn from and show you what you shouldn't do and what you should do. And it's cool that you were able to have both those examples, people that wanted to be the best versions of themselves, and then also people that went the other route.
Yeah, and I always say, like, you know, you have two choices anytime you see that, right? You can become a product of that, or you can become a person who despises that and uses that to never make you a product of that, right? So it's like growing up, you know, my mom, not to dive too deep, but like became an alcoholic, right? And so I spent a lot of time at bars, and parents with other kids would be there as well. And now I'm hanging out with those kids. And so, you know, now being older, a lot of those kids became their parents, you know? And so like when I run into them, they're just like, you can almost see the regret in their face.
Yeah.
Cause they're like, damn, if I just took a right instead of left, maybe I'd be where Mike is, or in a position, or found my passion or something like that. But
100%.
you know, that's life, and we're all faced with choices every day, and we have to make decisions that affect our future. And you don't really understand the weight of that as a kid.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're like, oh, like I could go do these drugs. Oh, I could slack off. Oh, I could skip work. Oh, I could, you know, and I'll make up for it. But it's like, yo, everything is a piece in the puzzle.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just like, nah, like the second I had an opportunity to break away from all that and remove myself from that situation, I did, to focus on music.
Absolutely, man. I love that you were able to have that that mindset as a kid and be so young and be so driven so early, because it's like people that start in their 20s, they have such a lesser chance of becoming someone. And it's just like, not to say that it can never happen, but like, because you started so young, it was already written for you. If as long as you kept going, you would be here with that, where you're at now.
Right.
So and something I want to talk about was when we had you on the Amplified podcast, the short-lived Amplified with Futuristic and Push the Genre. You talked about something that stuck with me. You said the past is printed, and it was referring to when Zach asked you about losing your parents early and talking about how all you can do is move forward and inspire people around you. And I thought that was really beautiful and a very, very good perspective to have with something that's so tragic.
Yeah.
So how did that influence your life, and how old were you when that happened?
It was so like between 7 and 21, right?
Okay.
So like, but you know, life took a turn. So like I was, born into a loving family, right? And we had money, like both parents working, both owned businesses. My dad owned a painting company. My mom was a dance studio owner. And so we were living a good life. And then once my father passed away, my mom became an alcoholic, lost everything, And so I got to see both sides of the coin early on, where it was like, cool, like I got all the toys I need. I can do whatever I want, like I can throw a temper tantrum and get what I want. To my mom picking me up from school being like, yo, we got to go pack up the crib because we got evicted and we have to be out by the end of the day. Damn. Right. And then like seeing your friends live that comfortable life that you thought you were going to live. And now everything has shifted in your life. Right. So, reality set in really early in life for me. And I realized that unless I do it for myself, I'm going to become this. Yeah. And so like, yes, I was a kid, but I had to grow up a lot faster than a lot of my friends and the people around me to survive. Absolutely. So a lot of it was based off of survival. Mm. And I think for me, that's really what, I don't want to say separated me, but allowed me to focus on my craft for so long, because I kind of buried myself in it. I turned a lot of the outside noise off and just said, hey, whether I like it or not, life goes on. Yeah. And if you don't choose to better yourself, life will swallow you up, and you could sit there and make excuses and poor me's and all this stuff, but no one's coming to save you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like, save yourself. And that's kind of the mindset and mentality I've had since I was a kid.
Yeah. So and being in that position where it's something so tragic, you are set with that same type of idea where it's like you can go right or you can go left, where you can go into the woe is me and sadness and let it take you down and make you feel bad forever. Yeah. Or you can use it as fuel to like understand that this life is not promised. Right. And it can be taken from you at any given moment. Exactly. So you need to live your life to the fullest. And that's, you just triple down on that when those things happen to you. And
for sure.
I mean, it's beautiful that you've had that perspective for so long. And I mean, it is, I'm sorry that you had to have that experience so early, but it made you who you are today, at the end of the day. So it's just like, so we're talking about family, and they very much influenced your musical abilities. But let's talk about what they were playing around the house growing up, and like musical artists, and what were you listening to growing up?
Oh man, Motown.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, all Motown, like Temptations, the Jackson 5, Diana Ross and the Supremes, like just all good music. Yeah. And that's one thing that I'm really blessed with, is the fact that I grew up on timeless music. Right. And for me, that is what I've strived for in my music, where it's like, cool, I can make music for the moment, or I can make music forever. Yeah. For a forever moment. Right. And so like, that's why a lot of the songs, like even I haven't had a song blow up. Right. But I've had songs become like proposals, first dances, like songs that have brought families back together, parent and son or parent and daughter, like rekindle relationships because of the weight of the message within the music. And to me, that's greater than a billion streams on a song. You Absolutely. Know what I'm saying? Like having someone hit me and be like, yo, I literally was battling cancer, and like I listen to music every day, and it gave me the courage and the motivation to keep fighting. And now I'm in remission, and wow. Like, so, and even at an artist at my level, like people don't understand like how impactful that is to someone like me, right? I remember the first time getting one of those, and I've had several messages like that. And I always think like, man, like to go through what you're going through, to use my music as the tool of motivation and fire to fight this thing that you're fighting. Like, and I'm sitting here worried about, dang, my song only has 200,000 streams. Like, it puts so much into perspective for me. And so that's why, like, anytime I find myself worrying about numbers, I remind myself the impact that I'm making.
For sure, man. You're changing people's lives without even realizing it. And I think it's because of the fact that you're putting your heart and your soul into the messages that you put in your songs. And you're not writing songs for the hype. You're not writing songs for the moment and for like to follow trends and things like that.
Yeah.
And you're not even necessarily talking about current events and things. You're talking about things that you experience that can be universally relatable. And I think talking about like Motown and those types of artists, a lot of the times they were talking about heartbreak, love, and those types of universal feelings. And I feel like you do that same thing. And it makes sense that you had those influences because I 100% hear that like timeless type of music. And like the music that when you hear it, you get goosebumps. That's the type of stuff. Of course, man. I mean, yeah, if anyone hasn't heard Michael Minelli, go listen to him. Pause this video, go stream him, come back.
Yeah. Do that.
But yeah, dude, it's cool that you had those real instrument types of artists around you growing up, because that's, I mean, obviously influenced the music that you make today, and continue to like surround yourself with those same type of musicians as well that like to make that type of music. So did you find your producer kind of early on, or did you work with a bunch of different people writing music early? Or
I definitely work with a few people. I wouldn't say a bunch.
Okay.
Because I was big on like, find your guy and stick with him, right? And so like, the first dude I worked with, like he was more of like a hip hop producer, and so I started like, that's kind of where I feel like I worked out a lot of the kinks with who I was going to become, right? And I knew, again, in that moment, I was like, I'm not making the music that I think is going to be my forever sound. I'm learning how to make music in real time.
Yeah.
And for me, I learned a lot about myself during that time where it was like, okay, like, you're using way too much auto-tune and you don't really know how to write a song yet, and you don't know methods and structure and all that different type of stuff. But the thing with me is that I was so dedicated that I did it every single day regardless. Yeah. And so, I learned like the rights and wrongs or my pockets throughout. And a lot of times people hit me and they're like, I'm trying to become a writer. I'm trying to become an artist. Like, what advice do you have? And I'm just like, yo, do it every single day.
That's it.
Like, if you work a job, you're not the best at that job on day 1, day 5, day 10. But you go talk to somebody who's been at that job for 20 years, they're doing it in their sleep.
Yeah.
It's repetition. You know what I'm saying? So
For sure.
And music a lot of times is the same way, except, I don't mean it's repetition, but like once you learn how to do things, your confidence grows.
Yeah.
And there were times where like I wasn't confident in my writing ability or my singing ability or what I was doing. And, we all have this sense of like, ooh, everything we do is hot, And so I really had to like be realistic with what I was doing and being like, this ain't it yet. But if I stop now, this is all it'll ever be.
Right.
So let me keep going and grow and grow. And that's why a lot of times I'll sit down and I'll go and listen to like my early work and be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like and people are like, yo, you're so good. Like every song you write is a hit. I don't mean a hit record, but like you hit it.
Right.
Right. You have no misses. And I'm like, I have so many misses. You just don't get to hear them.
Yeah.
Because I know what's good and bad. Like I can say I write a lot of bad shit. The difference is I also feel like I'm good at knowing what's right to put out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And I see a couple parallels with like sports and comedy. Because comedians, I was watching this thing where Dave Chappelle was talking about the New York comedy world and how because it was so prevalent and there was so much going on, you could do upwards of 12 to 14 shows in one night.
Yeah.
So basically like 5-minute sets, but like he could try a joke And if he came up with a joke on the second set, he'd have 12 more times to do it that night.
Right.
So the progress was happening very quickly of refining. And I think that's the same thing with you when you talk about like doing it every day. If you see something that you don't like, you fix it for the next time. And you just double down on that every time. 10 years down the line, you look at your first song versus your last song, you're like, miles different. And if you would have not done that every day, you would not have got to that point.
And it's about studying. You know, like you always have to study.
Right.
Like I study music. You know what I'm saying? Like I study the greats. And not even just the greats. Like I study other people to see like, they tried to fit too many words. That line feels forced. That doesn't feel authentic to their voice. I don't even know if the story they're telling right now is true to them because I don't believe you when you sing it. You know, and those are things that I learned along the way. So it's like, you know, just be comfortable. There's certain artists where it's like you hear a song and you're just like, every single line is comfortable. Every part of the song is comfortable, you know, and studying is such an important part of the game that I feel like people miss nowadays. Yeah. Right. They're just like, cool, I can hold a note. I could sing like a very catchy melody. Let me just make music. And it's like, you don't go and do the research on the greats to figure out like, well, how'd they pop? What worked for them? And then that also allows you to find out, damn, there's 12 to 15 people that worked on those songs. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, it was, you know, just understanding the surroundings and all the pieces that go into the greater picture of music.
Absolutely, man. And that's a very good point where like people just kind of look at it as a surface level and they don't deep dive. And a lot of times, like especially nowadays, everyone wants to be an artist just because it's cool to be an artist. And that's, you know, never been the people that succeed for a long time and have longevity. So it's the people that, you know, did their homework and study these things, figure out who made these songs, who are the producers, who are the writers. And it's like, who are those people? And it's like, there's names that you'll never even know unless you did research and like looked inside like the CD covers where it shows all the songwriters and stuff like that.
Nah, it's for me it's interesting because I'm also an artist that like I have no problem going back in and reworking a song as many times as it takes to get the right feeling from it, right? Like a song like Give It a Try, it's my biggest record. That song was reworked 4 times before it came out. Wow. And it was like, we did all different variations. The verse was different. The production started off as like a true hip hop beat. And I wrote it and then I came up with the hook and I was like, cool, the hook's tight. The verses are doo-doo. Like, let me, you know, but I don't think I can write better verses to this beat. I think the beat doesn't fit. Right. And I think we need to go back to like true R&B essence of music. And that's what we did, and that's what's out today. And it's still doing really well. Yeah. So it's just like one of those things. I think people are just like, oh, cool, I wrote a song, that's what the song is. And for me, it's like, but is it the best version of that song that it can be? For sure. You know?
For sure. Not just leaving it there, just like trying to figure it out. If it's not sitting with you, like where you're feeling like you have to settle, that's when you know it's not right. Yeah. Where it's just like, I don't love this. Well, then fix it. You know, it's like figure out a way to love it. For me, it has to feel right. Like it has to feel right. Like I go off of feel. Everything in my whole life that I do is feel and passion. If I'm not passionate about it, I can't do it. Like even with jobs, that's why like I could never hold a job for a long time because I didn't have any passion with that job. So it was just like monotonous bullshit that like I was like, bro, this ain't for me. You had to, you know, you felt like you had to be there just to make a living.
Yeah. And so the same thing with music and the writing. It's like, cool, like I love this. This is a representation of me. I'm not going to be able to be in rooms or cars or, you know, headphones when people listen to this and explain why I did it. Yeah. So therefore, let me make sure it is true to what I want it to be so that I don't have to explain anything to you. The explanation's in the music.
Yeah, 100%, man. And It's cool that you grew up in an early time too, because I feel like back in those days, artistry was different.
Yeah.
So like, I wanted to ask you about like cultural influences like MTV, VH1 days, and seeing like the artists that were at like A-list because everyone was backed by labels and everyone had money. And if you were an artist, you were backed by a label pretty much. Like indie didn't exist really.
Nope.
Because of money. And do you feel like that like you were influenced pretty heavily by pop culture in those days?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, it was, everyone was a superstar.
Right.
You know, we didn't have like mid-level artists. There wasn't levels. It was like you're on or you're not.
Yeah,
you're an artist or you're a writer.
Right.
You know, or you're a producer.
Right.
And
you didn't hear about those people.
Unless you were like the top.
You were Timbaland, Pharrell, Neptune.
Yeah, like.
yeah.
And so for me, like, it was, yo, and don't get me wrong, I don't do this. Like, I don't do this right now. But like, yo, get on a treadmill, jog, and sing your songs to get your breathing up. Like, that's what they used to say. Make sure you could dance and sing at the same time. Be an entertainer. Stand in a mirror. Work on your performance. Watch yourself. Make sure you look right.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the Beyoncés, Ushers, Justin Timberlake's, like, those guys, those are, in my eyes, those are like the last of the Mohegans, like Chris Brown, right? Like people who really step on stage and entertain. And I used to say that I wasn't a singer. I was an entertainer because I knew, you know, I hit a bunch of bad notes when I perform. Like, I'm not like this pitch perfect type of singer. I give you my soul and I put on a show and I entertain. So like when you come to a Michael Minelli show, you might not even know my music. You might have never heard it before. But by the end of my set, you're going to want to listen to it and you're going to want to come to another show. And those were the 2 points that I wanted to get across anytime I performed. No matter where I was in the lineup, no matter, like I said, if you know me or not, you're going to sit there and be like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. He's meant to be on that stage.
Absolutely. And it's an energy thing too. And you say you do everything by feeling. And I think that's another like, example of that. Like your shows, you're heavy on the energy. You know, you're getting crowds of 500,000 people two-stepping to you that don't even know who you are.
Facts.
You know, so it's like that's energy where like people will remember that and they're like, who was that guy though?
Right.
It's like they didn't even come to see you, but you made an impact on them because of your feeling and energy.
Whether anyone likes or not, I'm a part of the show. Yeah. Right. And so my job in a lot of these moments are get the party started. Right. If they come in there and they're having a bad day and whatever, something could have happened. They could have got fired, but they had the tickets and they were coming anyway. Like, it is my job to make you forget about everything and get ready to have a good ass time. And so when I there's a lot of times where I step on stage, I'm struggling, you know, energy wise. Like, I'm having a day or whatever. I'm tired. I've gotten 2 hours of sleep. And when I step on that stage, like, it just always happens. Something clicks in my brain and I become a different person. And I just know, hey, no matter what happens, I'm about to command this room. I am going to force you to give me your attention. And so, you know, things I learned along the way, like a lot of the 2 steps and stuff like that, I learned that from like Redman and Method Man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and there's a reason that those guys have been doing this for 30 plus years and they're still getting booked as headliners for festivals and shows because they put on a great show. They care. You can tell they care. There's no reason Redman and Method Man should be doing dance routines during their set, but they do. Yeah. And I took that to heart and I was like, they care and that's why they still get booked. And that's something like for me, it's like, if I never have a hit record, if I never have my quote unquote blow up moment, I still want to be able to perform 15, 20 years from now just based on my performance. Yeah. Hey, we know that these fans aren't going to know who Mike is before the show, but we know he's going to make sure that they're ready to rock when the headliner goes on and they're going to remember him at the end of it.
For sure. And this is like artists will know that, promoters will know that, and just the whole music industry will know that like he puts on an amazing show. Just, and you're a performer like through and through. So it's,
thank you, bro.
Yeah, man. No, I love to hear that. So going into talking about, you briefly moved to LA. We talked about this on the Amplified pod as well, where you were given an opportunity and you were only supposed to be there for like a month and then ended up being like 9 months. Yeah. So I kind of just want to talk about like how that changed you and, like what what that meant to you at the time, because I mean, to a lot of people, especially in entertainment, that's the end all be all. Like California, LA, the Hollywood, everyone wants to be there. So yeah, how did that feel at the time?
Again, learned a lot during that time, right? Took a lot of chances. I was working a job. I brought on a new manager. He just moved to LA. He said, yo, come out here, live with me. I'll pay for everything. Just come out and make music. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
And I didn't take that lightly. I went out there and I worked on music every single day, bro, in a bedroom. It was, one window, a bedroom. Me and my producer at the time were just sleeping in this room. He was on an air mattress. I was on a bed. We would wake up. We go in the living room. We'd have breakfast and coffee. We go back in the bedroom, work on music. At the end of the night, we'd eat dinner in the living room, and then we come back in the bedroom and go to sleep.
So you weren't even working like a 9-to-5 or anything like that?
You weren't working a job? I was broke. Yeah. I had no money. I think I went to LA with like $400.
Wow.
And luckily my manager at the time, he believed, and he knew that it was only a matter of time before we would get a look. We did get a look. We started doing writing sessions for Warner. And like I was doing sessions I did a session for Jason Derulo. I did a session for Kevin Gates. I did a session. Wow. I can't remember the other artist, but like we were in those writing sessions where it was like, but those were machines where it's like, hey, you got to bang out 8 songs in this session, ideas, half songs, whatever, so we could pitch it, and it taught me a lot about the fact that I never just want to be a writer.
Right.
That's not my bag. I'm too passionate about what I do to just rush through things. And for me, it took the love away for a little bit of the music. But I wrote a lot of records when I was out there, and a lot of the records that have come out in the last 2 to 3 years are some of those songs. And to me, that's just, again, a product of making music that could last forever, right? Because a song like I put out last year, Coming Home, I wrote 5 years ago.
Yeah, insane.
And that's the actual recording that I recorded 5 years ago in a living room in San Fernandino Valley. And now it's out there and people are singing it at my shows.
Man, that's amazing. And so when you were taking these meetings, you were taking these meetings as a writer to potentially like write for other artists, or were they taking these meetings as like an artist, Michael Minelli?
We were doing them as like artist Michael Minelli, but I think the thing is like we didn't know what we know now.
I see.
Right? So like I didn't have any music out. I had no music out. I had no fan base, no following. And I was still under the assumption of like, hey, if a label signs us, they'll blow us up because we haven't made an impact in the industry. We're a new artist. Mm-hmm. And I think that was that's my biggest regret is like during those 9 months, I didn't shoot one piece of content. I didn't put out anything. It was like, I call that moment in my life, like boot camp.
For sure.
Cause it showed me how to work, how to grind, how to be away from family and friends. Like I wasn't chilling with nobody. I didn't have any friends in LA. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like I wasn't going out, I wasn't doing anything, just working on music. And there was times where I struggled with that, especially during like certain holidays. You're like, everyone's back home having a good time and you're here, chasing this dream, but this is what you always wanted. You always wanted to come to LA, and everybody back home is looking at you like, yo, Mike's doing it. He's in LA.
Yeah,
and little did they know I'm depressed because I'm not home with my people, living life. So yeah, that time of my career was the breaking point. I after the 9 months, everything just like, the energy dies after you're pushing for so long. And I came home and I had nowhere to live. In
Connecticut.
Yeah, in Connecticut. I started like randomly, like I kind of forced it, but like one of my good friends at the time, we were working on like cover videos and stuff like that. And I came home and like I just started sleeping in the basement. Like I had nowhere else to go. So I'm like, cool. there's 3 couch cushions from an old couch that he had. I just put it in the corner of the room and I would just sleep on it that night. And then I would make sure, the next morning I was like, that was all packed up by the time his mom woke up or came down, because she's like, why is he just sleeping downstairs?
Yeah.
I was, everyone kind of like fizzled out, like they were moving on. And so for me, it was the first time in a long time that I was alone completely. Like thought everyone gave up on me, thought music was over. And I had to make a decision. And in that moment, my producer, who I still work with, he was the one that came out to LA with me. He was like, yo, the only time it's over is when you let it be over. The only time the train stops is when you stop the train.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can keep it going in some way, shape, or form. And I took that to heart.
Good.
And I was like, you know what? Like, you're right. I made a point to really start using the fuel of being left and forgotten as my fire for my resurgence as an artist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, like you don't think I got it no more? Cool. Let me show you I do. And growing up as an athlete, I'm very competitive. So when someone doubts me, that's my push. You know what I'm saying? So like I would always be like, oh, okay, bet. Like I'm going to make sure that person comes back and reaches out to me because they see me moving and they regret letting me go.
100%.
And so that's when everything kind of shifted. And I just started saying like, yo, at the end of the day, I write music. I can record myself. So nobody can stop me but me.
Yeah. I love that he gave you that perspective early, because I mean, for any artist or any type of anybody in the entertainment industry at all that's aspiring, like you are in control of your own destiny at the end of the day. Yeah. So it's just like, if you want it to end and you want to kill it, then kill it. You don't have to keep going. But if you want to keep going and you want to be somebody, you got to keep going.
Yeah, I think nowadays too many people get caught up on well, this person's not doing this for me, and I can't do this because they're not doing this, and oh, well, I don't know how to do that, so it's not going to get done. And it's like, yo, at the end of the day, fam, like you have a life to live. You have to provide for yourself. And again, this is where it comes from, like my upbringing and having to be on my own. It's like, bro, I got to get it by any means necessary. So Absolutely. If you're not going to do it for me, all right, bet. Be out, and I'll get this shit done.
Yeah.
And once I get it done, don't try coming back being like, well, now I can do it because you're doing. No, I'm good.
Train's
once
gone.
It's like that quote. It's like, yo, if I ever needed you if I ever asked you for help and you didn't help me, I'll never, and I figure it out, I'll never need you again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like, if you don't love me at my lowest, then you don't deserve me at my highest.
Yeah.
That type of shit.
And that's really what it comes down to. And so like, I just started little by little learning every aspect of my job, right? Hey, I have to be a salesman. I have to be a musician. I have to handle my business. I have to market myself. I have to merch, be a salesman with the merch.
Yeah. Entrepreneur.
Networking, all that stuff, building the brand. Ooh, how am I going to do this? Like how do I want people to perceive me? Like I started doing that. Whereas before it was just like, I'll let other people figure that out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest mistake nowadays is relying on other people to bring you success. Like you should be bringing your own success, and then other people will come and help you amplify that.
Hey, Martians, real quick. I appreciate you taking the time to listen or watch wherever you are in the world. Over the last few months, the Martian family has grown so much. I could not be more thankful for all of my guests and every single one of you who continue to tune in every single week. Subscribers, ratings, likes, and comments all help us grow here on Mars. And it would mean the world. If you haven't already, please go to onmarspod.com/subscribe to subscribe on YouTube. Like and leave a comment, rate us on Spotify. All this good stuff helps keep the engine running to inspire Martians all over the world. P.S. Follow us on Instagram @onmarspod. Okay, let's get back to it. Whew. All right, I'm sorry to anyone who's watching this and not just listening. My camera cut out, but I'm going to... Every time I speak, I'm just going to have like a frozen thumbnail of me just like...
That's fire.
But Mike's camera never turned off. Triple fucking check this. ridiculous. All right, it's all good.
30 minutes of you just like this.
Yeah. I'll just do like a loop video of just like, damn it. All right. So we were just talking about basically being in a position to know that you have to be the one to drive yourself, and you can't just be relying on other people to kind of do these things for you.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was that's a really important part of being an artist, especially in these days, because to kind of go back to our point we were talking about with the superstars of our childhood, they were part of the machine. You know, they were the ones that all they have to do is try to get buzzed to get signed. And once they get signed, all their problems are taken care of. And that's the old mindset. But
you learn too, like, you know, now the kind of like glamour has faded because all those artists come and speak out about being like,
360 deals. Yeah.
I had no money during that time. Like I was doing world tours, bringing in millions and millions of dollars, and I have nothing to show for it. So it's just like knowing the business nowadays is so much more important than it was back then. Everybody just, hey, listen, I'm gonna sign a record deal. I'm gonna sing either my own song or a rendition of an old song, and I'm gonna be on the radio, and then I'm gonna tour, and I'm gonna be famous, and that's all I care about. And now, you know, that's one thing I do love about today's artistry is that we're so much more self-aware, and there's so much more knowledge out there because of podcasting, because of just like interviews from people in the past. And it's like people take that shit for granted, but it's like, yo, we have people dropping gems for us daily.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like somebody, I love watching Joe Budden, right? Because he keeps it all the way funky, and he's an artist. So like it allows me to really like pull game. It's just like anything, right? Like people want to go play for Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, because he's the greatest to ever play his position in football. And so why wouldn't you want to play for a Hall of Famer? You know what I mean? As opposed to playing for someone who never played the sport, so they can't relate to you in that type of way. For me, it's the same way. It's like I want to listen to guys who did it 10, 20 years ago because they, you know what I mean, experienced it in real time. And so when they're telling you to go do this and go do that, like they don't have to be saying that shit. They're doing it out of the kindness of their heart to put people on so that the same mistakes don't get made time and time again. And you're able to like really become your own business. And that's why we see people like Futuristic and Russ and other artists that, you know, and even Anise and like in today's generation of musicians where it's like, they are the business. They're not just the artist. Yeah. And I think that is what is so dope to experience and to just be a part of.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you bring Zach up, because you met Zach in around that time when you came back to Connecticut right after LA. Is that kind of around the time that you met him?
It was a little like I was probably in Connecticut for like a year and some change.
Okay.
But yeah, we linked and that again, there's like levels of my life, right? Of my craft, my artistry that I always like attribute. And like, it was like going to LA was a wake up call. Coming home was rock bottom. And then coming out to Arizona with Futuristic was like I can do this shit. I could really do this shit, you know, cause it was the first opportunity for me to work with somebody who was successful. Right. Who's a, you know, a famous artist, you know, and who has made millions of dollars making music. And for me to be able to match his hustle was something that I took it as a challenge. Like, and we spoke about it now, but like before that, like he didn't know, but like when he was like, yo, you're going to come out here, we're going to do this, and this in like 4 days. So it was like, I was working a full-time job at that point. And I remember I flew out on a Thursday. I got here at like 2 a.m. We worked all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And I flew home. I took a red eye Sunday night back home and drove from the airport to work Monday morning.
Grinding.
And I remember pulling up to work and I was like, yo, I swear to God, let someone say something. Let someone have smelly breath today. Yeah. I'm quitting. Yeah. Like, do not test me. I'm so tired. Like, you know, but like, I lived my dream for 3 days where it was like I was shooting music videos, shooting podcasts, just being an artist, being the artist that I wanted to be, and working really hard and getting it done, and not being like, some people have moments where they realize like, oh shit, like maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I can't do what they're doing. Right. In that moment, I was like, oh, I can do this shit, and just having him as a role model and somebody that like really puts me on game, not just like, yo, you can't just sit back and just be an artist. Like, you got to be your business, because there's a lot of artists his level that are broke.
Yep.
They caught their fame, they spent their bread, and now they're broke. And he's somebody that was able to take what he did and amplify it and make sure that he could provide for his family. And now he lives the life he wants to live. And he's blessed with an opportunity to have his own resurgence. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, listen, like I took this time, but like now I'm back into music and I'm about to go crazy. And like, so talking to him and hearing him and the things that he speaks about, and just the way his mind works, like, has allowed me to kind of shift all my focus with music. And a lot of, it's not just him, right? Like I'm actually, I think about it all the time. I'm very blessed to be surrounded by the group of musicians that I'm surrounded by, right? And when I say that, I mean, like, I have someone like Futuristic that I talk to every single day. I have someone like Anise that I talk to every single day, right? I'm surrounded by Nick D, Teddy Swims. Right. There's so many artists that I can tap in with on the regular to gain perspective. And they're the next level. They're the level that I'm trying to get to, so it's like their motivation, their words of wisdom, them just being a driving force in my life. It's like, yo, I know it's only a matter of time before I'm where they are, and so I'm blessed to have real time artists that are actually doing it and making great livings, be in my corner and supporting me and giving me those gems and just like little hints and tips on how to elevate as the artist that I am now.
For sure. And Futuristic and Anise, those are like indie artists, like independent artists who are self-made. And that's like who you are too. So it's like to have that mentorship in a way, but also be like boys with these dudes. Like, I think that's key to a lot of people's success, is like surrounding themselves with people that are like-minded.
And it doesn't always happen like that. You know what I mean? Like, you link with artists and like, it's just like on some like, cool, nice to meet you, bro. Like, yeah, we caught a vibe. Cool, great. I'll check you. With Futuristic and with Anise, it's like organic friendships to where like me and Anise will be on the phone for like 2 hours and we'll probably talk about music for like 20, 30 minutes tops. Yeah, right. And the same thing with Futuristic, where it's like, we talk about music for a fraction of the conversation, and then it's like, yo, let me talk to your son. Like, I'm Uncle Mike, and like, we're talking about this and family stuff, and this is how you should invest, and this is what you need to do. And that's what I take a lot of pride in, is like building relationships with these people, friendships that will last outside of music.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. And in that 3-day period that you were working with Futuristic out here in Arizona, you did something with the Big Dawes, and you were doing like the public performance thing, and you were doing that whole thing, and that was like the beginning of something that was really important to you. Well, I guess your blow up on socials was like the public performance stuff. So but that was like the beginning of it. So how did that feel in the moment? Like, do you remember being like super nervous about it, or were you super excited? And like,
I was terrified.
Yeah,
I was so terrified because I've never done anything.
Can I give you a little something and you tell me what you think?
I mean, maybe, yeah, but I'm not.
We can call it love at first sight. Remember you were standing there. Suddenly everybody else disappeared. Maybe I was caught up in that moment, but I just had to have you. I see the picture so clear. Sounds crazy, but I know it don't get no better than this. Your love is a drug I'm feeling for. You know it don't get no realer than this. So if you want it, then let's give it a try, yeah. 'Cause we're getting no younger, girl.
When you're like, hey, you're about to just go sing to strangers, you automatically are like, well, what if I get shut down? Like,
right.
I don't know rejection. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I literally just said to myself, I was like, well, if he did it, then I can do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm talented like he is.
Yep.
And so I worked my whole life practicing, working on my craft. So I prepared for this moment without knowing I prepared for that moment.
Yeah.
And going out there, I remember for like the first like 30 minutes, like we couldn't find like a spot to sit at. People were just walking by. I was nervous, you know, like, how am I going to do this? And then I did I sang to the first person, and like, we got a great reaction, and it was like, oh, okay. So then we shot for a couple hours out there, and it was super dope because even the guy filming it for Big Dawes was like, well, first of all, I didn't even know we were shooting with Big Dawes. So like, I got in the car that morning, we're on our way to shoot the prank, and I'm like, yo, who are we shooting with? They're like, oh, Big Dawes. And I'm like, who's that? And so I Google it. I'm like, yo, I know this dude. Like, he's humongous.
Yeah,
like,
that's Klay Thompson.
And so I'm like, oh shit, like the stakes just got that much higher because people are gonna really see this shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And but I remember even after that day, that night, we shot a music video for my song Somebody Else. And I remember after we shot the video, I sat outside, and it was the night before I was going home. And I sat outside and I just like posted on my socials, you know, just like a story of me just speaking in the moment. And it was like, yo, I really feel like I just like unlocked a new level of my artistry, like being able to go out and perform in public and sing in front of people and be confident and have fun and not always be so serious about everything. Right.
Right.
And to be honest, like, little did I know, 6 months to a year later, I'd be going around the country singing in public, and those are the videos that are now doing millions of views.
Yeah,
and have helped me gain recognition. Like even something like yesterday, like it's so crazy, but you know, me and Futuristic went on vacation in Hawaii last year, and like we're in Hawaii, and like someone comes up, they're like, yo, bro, like I love your music. And I remember Futuristic's face lit up more than mine.
Yeah, he's like, whoa.
Because he was just like, yo, he was like, this is so beautiful. Like he's experienced it so many times, but to see it for me, you know, it's a blessing for him because he puts so much stock into me and he helps me out so much that I know that was like a big moment for him and for me. And even yesterday, like landing in Arizona, I'm in the airport and some dude's like, bro, you're the dude. Like I see your TikToks all the time. Like, bro, your music's crazy. Like keep going, bro. And it's like those moments, like, may seem little to people, but to me it's so major because it's like, bro, I'm in Arizona in an airport wearing a beanie, my hair's up. Like, but you paid attention enough to know that it was me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it happens everywhere I go now, like seldomly, like it's not like rushes of people, you know, like it's not that, but just those little it lets me know like I am getting out there. People do know who I am. Like I'm bigger than I was last year, 2 years ago, you know, and that's all a part of the growth.
Yeah, man. And to see yourself now, like versus like before you went to LA, you know, when you were still in Hartford, or was it Hartford? Or
it's right there. It's Newington. But.
Newington. So when you were in Connecticut though, like to be that person and then to like see yourself getting recognized in an airport, like that Connecticut Mike has got to be so proud of the Mike that you are today, you know.
And I think a lot of times, you know, artists say, oh, you don't look back, right? Like I've always been a forward thinker. I've always moved forward in my whole life. And very rarely do I stop to smell the flowers.
Yeah. And
those moments are the moments that make me realize, like, yo, you're doing it. Like you're not where you want to be. You're not where you could be or should be, but you're going somewhere.
Yeah.
You're moving forward. You're not moving backwards. And to me, that is, you know, people always say, right? Like when you win the Grammy or when you get to the mountaintop, it's not the mountaintop itself that was the important part. It was the journey to the mountaintop.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, that's what I'm trying to live more and more, right? Whereas like, again, when I'm in Europe or when I'm on tour, like, you know, I went on my first tour ever 16 months ago. And I remember that feeling of being like, yo, I'm finally going on tour, because everyone, when they say, oh, you're a musician, do you tour? And you say, no.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
no.
damn, you know, touring is one of those things that separates you from like an internet personality to like a real true touring act and musician. And that's been my dream this whole time. And so now 16 months later, I've now gone on 6 tours.
Jeez.
I've been gone for half the year.
Wow.
You know, like living out of a suitcase, just being on the road, but seeing so many different parts of the country and now the world. And it's like, to think back 2 years ago, I remember being at like my barbershop getting a haircut and being like, bro, like, I don't even know what I'm about to do. I don't even know how I'm gonna make music, or make money.
Right.
I started like painting houses as like just a way to survive, to pay my rent. And then now, you know, 2 years later, to be doing music full time and traveling and honestly spending more money than I've ever spent.
Yeah.
It's like a great feeling and a bad feeling at the same time, because it's like, well, you have the money to spend. But damn, you know, seeing that money go.
Yeah.
And I remember even early on with Futuristic, like we'd be talking, I'd be like, dang, bro, like I just had to spend like $1,000 on this thing. He's like, fam, spend like $30,000 a month, like on bills and like payroll and shit. I'm like, goodness gracious.
Yeah,
and then like
this doesn't stop.
Yeah. And then like this year, like now I'm spending that much money, but you know, like you got to invest in yourself. Like you got to buy the merch. Like you got to travel. You got to stay busy. And so it's like, does it hurt to see the money go? For sure. But like, do I know that it's going to come back to me tenfold? For sure. 100%. I believe it, you know, and I'm going to make sure it happens.
Yeah, man.
So.
And you, I mean, you didn't come from being like, you know, spoiled. So it's just like you knew the value of $1. So like having to spend $1,000, like that's going to hit you. You know what I'm saying?
That shit, spending $100 still right now hits me. Like I'd be like, damn, bro, you really need this? Like, what about 95? You know? So like, I'm always going to be a cheapskate at heart. But I think that's important, you know what I mean? Not to just blow money and I spend it where it needs to be spent. So it's like, if I know that it's going to better my career or my craft or move me forward in any way, shape or form, I don't even hesitate.
For sure.
You know?
Like it's be the difference between you having a unsuccessful tour or a successful tour.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you have to spend money to make money at the end of the day.
For sure.
So it's just like being an artist is no different than any other entrepreneurial endeavor in that sense, where it's just like, if you don't invest in your business, you're not going to make anything.
You're a business owner at the end of the day. So it's like, a landscaping business. Well, you can't landscape with just your hands. You need machines. You need trucks. You need tools. You know what I'm saying?
Employees.
Like you need employees. You need all this stuff. You need insurance. You need so like for me, it's the same thing where it's like, you know, even something as simple as like this last European tour.
Yeah.
I didn't get paid for the tour. I paid for everything. You know, and I was booking everything. So like I'm booking hotels and I'm booking flights and trains and Ubers and food and, you know, and it adds up. And, you know, I probably spent like $6,000 on that trip to go to Europe for 2 weeks to perform for people. And, you know, someone might be like, yo, Mike, you're crazy. But in my opinion, it's like, hey, I wanted to start building an international fan base and I wanted to see the world. And for me, the fans that I received during that tour, who knows how long they're going to support my career for, right? Like next time I go on tour in Europe, they'll show up. Maybe they'll buy merch. Maybe they'll buy merch from my next online merch sale. Maybe they're going to stream my music. Maybe they'll buy my album. Maybe they'll buy a meet and greet. And that money will come back in some way, shape, or form over the course of time. And it might even double, triple, or 10x.
It will, yeah.
You know? And so that's, for me, that's just what I have to put in my head when I'm spending money on certain things, is that it's not an immediate like flip, but for longevity, it will benefit me in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and I think that the root word is investing. You know, you're investing in yourself because you know you're not going to stop this. So it's like, if you keep going, just based off your track record, you know, 5 years ago, where were you at? 5 years from now, where are you going to be at? Like, it's going to be, you're not going to think about that $6,000.
Facts.
So straight up.
I'm going to still think about it. But it probably just won't hurt as much. But yeah, I'm gonna still think about it. I'm be like, dang, But yeah,
Like, have a 5.
Yeah, you know, like I said, man, you got to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
If you'd be doing yourself a disservice to not invest in your talent, but investing, like, you're only investing like in your craft, like working hard, but then not investing the money that you make. Like, you gotta do both. They go hand in hand. So it's like you can't be scared in this industry, right?
Yeah.
You have to take risks. You have to take chances, and sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. I've taken many chances that didn't work out, but it might have led me to something in some way, shape, or form that then worked out, and I could look back and say, okay, I fucked up here. I did this wrong, but guess what? This made up for these 3 mistakes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or not mistakes, but lessons.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's just how I always apply everything. It's like, yo, if I say yes to this and I do it and it doesn't go well, at least I can sleep well knowing
you tried,
that I know the outcome.
Yeah.
But if I say no, I will wonder the rest of my life if that move could have been the move that would change my life forever.
Man. Yeah, beautifully said, man. And I think that's like goes back to like the age-old saying of like everything happens for a reason, and I live my life by that 100%.
Facts.
I wouldn't be in Arizona had I not said yes to a multitude of different things.
Yep.
And I think saying yes has been something that's like, say yes, figure it out later. That's like, it's always been like,
it'll work itself out.
It'll work itself out if it's supposed to. So I love that we went on that, because that's kind of talking about like being influenced by the independent artists around you to become the independent artist that you are today. But I do want to talk about like getting into like open verse challenges and like the social media things and kind of putting yourself out there, because that was the start of that, where you were putting yourself out there, trying to gain viral traction. I remember Zach talking about how he was the one to kind of push you to go on the TikToks and do all the social stuff. And at first you were a little hesitant, but then you went in and you did it, and it proved to be, worth your while.
It was like a combo, right? So it was like, Futuristic had been pushing me to like shoot content and be like more like in the consumer's face and just out there. And I ended up taking a trip in the beginning of January of not this past year, but the year before, and linking with Nick D, who's like a humongous independent artist.
Yeah.
And we were working on a record together. And the funny thing about Nick is like me and Nick got connected like when he was smaller than I was as an artist.
Wow.
And I over the course of time, like I watched him just grow and grow and grow, and he never stopped. And that's the thing, is like every time I opened Instagram or TikTok, this man was on my screen, and he was entertaining, right? Like and in a fun way. And so I remember like we were talking, and I'm not putting his business out there at all, but like he was like, yo, I'm gonna show you my distro kid, not to brag, but just to inspire, so that that if you do take this step as like a content creator, it could end up benefiting you in ways you never thought it would. And when I saw the money, I was like, I'm an idiot. Like, what am I doing? Like, I can't believe that I let my pride and my ego hold me down for so long, because Nick's somebody that like, he just likes to have fun, bro. Like he's the most normal dude I've ever met, right? Like he likes to have fun, goes with the flow, never switches up for anybody. And he made a living and a career, and a very successful one now, just being himself.
Yeah.
And for me, those 2 moments is what really motivated me to switch up my whole game and be like, oh, okay, cool. Short form content, repetitive music posts, and also figuring out, yo, what am I good at? Well, I think I'm a better singer than most. So I'm not scared to sing in public. So let me go sing. Let me go sing out in the open and get people's reactions and see what they do, and post those. And that's when all my videos started doing well, and I started growing, and just, started getting looks. Like the phone started ringing once I started doing that. So
100%.
I definitely attribute the start of all that to Futuristic and Nick D for both kind of pushing me in a position in a way to grow as not only a musician but someone who likes to have fun as a content creator too.
For sure. And it kind of gave you the battery in your back and gave you the confidence that you can do
Hell
it too,
yeah.
you know,
Hell
because
yeah.
I'm sure being on Instagram, you saw all these artists doing this stuff, but you were just reluctant to do it because you didn't think that was you.
I was just like, yo, I'm an artist.
Yeah, it's
I need
like-
to be cool.
Yeah,
And I need
that's
to
pride, yeah.
make this music, and I need everybody to think I'm a superstar and this is that. And it's like, yo, just because you have fun on camera and I'm a clown and all that doesn't mean my music is any less valuable or good.
Right.
You know, like you're still going to love my music. It's still timeless. That music is still going to be what it is. Me having fun with it is just a plus.
Yeah.
Right. Because it lets people know that I'm the same as them. And I think that's why for me, I've always taken the approach of like, yo, I'm a human being. So when I talk to like my core fans, like we do like a live Zoom once a month, right? On the app Grouped.
Oh,
It's
nice.
called the Minelli family. And a lot of times, bro, I keep it so real where it's like, yo, dog, like I'm struggling right now. Like mentally, I'm drained, like I'm run down, you know, because I think it's important for people to understand that even though I smile and have a good time, I have my down days too. Like I overthink. I have dark times, and that's just a part of like letting them know like, yo, we are the same. Just because of what I do is in front of a camera and it glorifies this life doesn't mean I don't struggle any more or less than you.
Yeah. You're still human. That's really all it is. It's like, and all these people are still human. You
Yeah.
know, all these people that are content creators and all these people that are huge, they still have their struggles. They
Yeah.
still have to deal with the day-to-day bullshit that all of us have to do. Maybe it's different, but everyone has their own struggles.
We all got to pay bills. We all got to take the garbage out. We all got to put our undies on, you know, one leg at a time. We all go to the bathroom. We all, you know, so it's like and the majority of my life, I was a blue collar worker.
Yeah.
You know, I did everything under the sun: paint, landscaping, masonry, roofing, carpentry, you know, so like I was getting my hands dirty my whole life. So that's why when I meet people at shows, I can relate in such a way in which it's like, yo, I've lived your life.
Yeah.
Maybe not for as long as you, but I've lived that life. I know exactly what that feels like. And so when you come spend, you know, your hard-earned money to come watch me perform, I don't take that for granted.
Right.
I give you the best show I can give you, even if I'm at my lowest energy. Even, bro, like I was working on 45 minutes or an hour of sleep in London. And, bro, I still went out there and gave them absolutely everything I had because it's like at the end of the day, to me, it's another show, right? London. And then the next day I'm traveling to another city. For them, they bought tickets 2 months ago as a present for somebody. And for those 2 months, they're looking forward to that show. And so when they show up, I need to make sure that they leave and say, yo, that's the best show I've ever been to. And I will be back.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Absolutely, man. And I love it's like you kind of put their experience ahead of like what you're struggling with at the moment, because
Facts.
like that moment for them could be a lifelong thing, and you
Facts.
might make a lifelong fan. But if you came up there super low energy, tell them like, hey guys, I'm not really feeling it, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna get through it, like they're immediately gonna be like, ah, damn, like
It's not their problem.
yeah,
It's
for
not their
sure.
problem. Like
It's
they,
like, yeah,
at the end of the day, that's where being a professional comes into play.
for sure.
You know, this is my job. I don't take it lightly.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm here to do a job. And to keep me doing this job, and for people wanting me to open for them or do shows with them or venues booking me, I have to make sure that I hold myself to a certain standard. So from the second I walk into that venue, me and my team have to be professional, welcoming, positive,
Yeah.
you know, making sure that venue at the end of the night says, hey man, you were amazing. We'd love to have you back anytime.
Yeah. Especially
That's important to me.
Yeah, man, and building that international love too, like that's huge. And I mean, to that point, it's like, and I do want to kind of touch on like the open verse challenges a little bit, because like public performances are different from like the open
Yeah.
verse challenges, but like the open verse challenges kind of brought you into different doors where it's like you met Teddy Swims,
Yeah.
you got the attention of Logic, you got the attention of Anise, you know,
Yeah.
you ended up doing an official remix with Anise for
Yeah.
Leave Me. all because you decided to do the open verse challenge.
Yeah.
And it's like, had your homies tag him in it, and it's just like that led to another thing, and then he offered you like those last minute shows or something like that, where it's just like these things of you putting yourself out there. That's what kind of led to the opportunities. And I kind of just want to talk about like when you did that open verse challenge for Anise and how that changed that felt like another like moment in time where like when you met Zach, like that kind of thing was like when you met Anise, that was like another moment in time where it changed your artist tree up a little bit.
No, facts. So like, the thing is like when I met Futuristic, it was, I kind of got welcomed into his network, right? So like I was working with all his artists that he knew, and he was reaching out being like, yo, Mike has this record, like love to have you on it. But I didn't have my own network, right? Like I didn't know artists. Like I knew artists because of him. And so for me, open verse challenges was a perfect way, and still is a perfect way, to get the attention of artists that I want to work with or be connected with or in the same conversations with. Yeah. So, with Anise, like he dropped the first one, it was Leave Me. I did it. I got his attention. We spoke a little bit, but it was nothing like, we didn't build on anything. We didn't, and then shortly after, he did a Sun and Moon open verse challenge. And I remember being like, I'm not going to do it because I already did Leave Me and I don't want to look thirsty and I don't feel well. So I'm not going to do it. And then I thought to myself like, yo, I'm literally risking my entire life on this music shit. And for me to let my pride and ego get in the way of potentially gaining more awareness about my music by doing 2 open verses and making sure I'm one of the first people to do them, like I'm taking myself not as serious as I should, and I'm allowing my evil thoughts to take over. Like, put all that shit aside, just be you, because you never know. Again, that whole mentality where it's like, if I do it, I'm gonna know what's gonna come from it, but if I don't, I'll never know. Yeah. And that's literally what happened. Like I did the Sun and Moon challenge.
A lot of pretty faces could waste my time, but you're my dream girl. You make flowers bloom. You make the flowers bloom. You make the stars collide. Girl, you make the stars collide. And I don't know what I did to get lucky like this, but it sure feels fine. Ooh, you got your mother's smile, so insecure and pure. When I was feeling down, a dose of you secure. See, oh golly, I wonder how the hell that you found me. Ooh, and when you walk up in the room, they all stop and stare. Happens every time. You're so unaware, I stand by your side proudly. Cause girl, no matter what, you never doubted me, no. I get this feeling, I need you, and I don't care what they say. I love this girl in so many ways, I swear I can't explain. And if you ever question my love, no, I won't go astray. The only thing I'm trying to change about you is your last name, girl.
All his friends were messaging him, yo, you gotta hear this dude. You gotta hear this dude. Like, I was messaging him. I was in his DMs. Every video he posted, I commented on. Like, I made sure that he had no opportunity to forget who I was. Yeah. And it was also at a time where like he was blowing up. So like, how many other artists were probably hitting him? So like, I had to really put that work in to show him too, like, yo, I'm not just trying to use you. I think our lanes will actually complement and benefit each other, right? Like, absolutely. You're huge, but like to have someone like me in your circle is a great thing, and vice versa, right? We complement each other very well. I think I bring a lot of like spiciness to his circle, and it's something that now we've formed like this whole brotherhood and family type of atmosphere when we go on the road together. And I mean, case in point, like, I've done 5 tours with him now. Yeah. So it's like to say, imagine if I didn't do the Sun and Moon challenge. Yeah. Exactly. I would never be on these tours.
Crazy.
And
that's
like
crazy.
We're going back on the road in January, and I know this is going to air after January, but it's like, we're going back on the road, and then we're already talking about like, cool, like let's take a little break, and then we'll work on music together. And then, I keep saying like, yo, I'm going to blow up. Like, I'm going to have my moment, and then we could do mini arenas and amphitheaters together and like to have those conversations with somebody you once only knew through the internet. I mean, and again, Futuristic's the one that put me on Anise.
Yeah.
Like literally was like, yo, this dude's crushing it. He's singing songs in his car. Like he's growing at a rapid rate. Check him out. To now be here, like I was on FaceTime with Anise and Futuristic earlier, right before this podcast, like, and we're just talking about our plans for 2024. Like, that's so dope to me, you know?
Yeah.
But again, like I said earlier, it doesn't always happen like that. Like, it just, the universe brought us together. We're very similar with a lot of our thoughts and mentality. And I think I've proven to him, like, I'm not just somebody that is trying to use him for his status, but I actually care. And I believe in who he is as a person. And I think vice versa, where it's like, he's like, yo, Mike really rides for me. And therefore I'm really going to ride for Mike.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just about making sure that no one's pouring too much and emptying out their glass more than the other. You know what I'm saying? I provide value. He provides value. And that's how a good relationship, any relationship, or a business relationship, a love relationship, you know, it's two people coming together, both providing value and showing the other person that they care and they're committed, and that at certain times, like, you're going to have to take some L's in order for that person to win, and vice versa.
Yeah, for sure. And it's cool that like there was like a certain like events where it's like Zach led you to Anise, and then Anise gave you the opportunity, and like if you have never like put yourself out there, man, that's just going back to everything. It's crazy, like,
bro. And I know artists
that. Like,
I know artists that like will be like, damn, I'm not doing open verse challenges. Like, that's like, you know, that's below me. That's beneath me, right? And I'm like, cool. I can.
That's fear of rejection.
I'll let you say that, but I'll tell you what. I know the difference in my bank account before my open verse challenges and after, you know, and that's the truth, is like more opportunities like were coming. Like, businesses started coming and being like, yo, can you sing this jingle for my company and we'll pay you this, and we want to send you this free product if you do this. And it's like, the money just started coming in after all that happened. So it's like, I'm always like, yo, cool. You think open verse challenges are corny? Great. You could be broken and I could be corny.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I'm not going to be like, that's not what I'm going to allow. So yeah, I just, and that's the thing, is like, yo, my open verse challenge is like, I still put a lot of work into them. Yeah. I still take pride in those verses. So they're great. Like, I do them as if the artist is going to call me and say, yo, this shit is so hard that I want to put out the remix. Yeah. And it hasn't happened yet. We did with Anise with like SoundCloud and like YouTube and stuff like that. Right. But like, nonetheless, like, I've gained so much exposure and so many fans off of these open verse challenges, and allows you to tap in with, you know, Crash Adams, the same thing, where it's like, they're humongous on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Spotify. And they were like, yo, we love your content. We have this open verse challenge. Let's get up and like, let's perform it together. And I think that video has now done like 20 million views. Jeez. You know? And so now we have a friendship. Yeah. Like, if I run into them, like, it's all love and we plan on working together. And it's just like, yo, good people are going to gravitate towards good people. And I truly believe that I've been blessed with the opportunity to have great human beings come into my life and help me one way, shape, or form, where it's like, hey, you're Mike, keep going. Because we had our moment, and when we blew, everything changed, and your moment's going to come. And I literally believe that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not concerned about when. That's inevitable. I can't change that. What I'm concerned about is making sure that when it happens, I'm ready.
For sure. And it's crazy because it's happening in real time. Yeah. like right now, you know, like, we're in between tours, like, and like Anise was the first one to give you that like opportunity to go on a tour. And it was because when he offered you a show, I remember you talked about this on the Amplified podcast too, where it was like a last minute, gotta get to Detroit or something like that. And you just said yes and you went. And that was, you know, you crushed it. And then he was saying like, this is going to take you very far. Shortly after that, offered you like a few shows on the summer camp run. Yep. And then you did a full summer camp run with him, or something like that, where it was like, you guys did multiple shows. And I feel like that's when it solidified, like, okay, this is the thing.
Yeah. Like, no, it was, he hit me on a Wednesday. He said, The openers I had, for whatever reason, I don't even know what happened, to be real with you, but I'm assuming they backed out or whatever, for the first show in Detroit on Friday. And I had already been he put me on the New Haven, Connecticut show and the Boston show. And he called me on Wednesday. I was literally painting a house. And I was just like, yeah, I'll be there. No questions asked.
Yes.
Got you.
Yeah.
And so
Figure
he
it
put me
out.
on 6 shows.
Wow.
And then I just made sure every time I walked in there, I gave great energy. I was helping them. I was folding their merch and making sure stage setups and everything was going smooth. Like I was a part of the team, even though I wasn't getting paid for it. It didn't matter. I was adding value to their camp.
Yeah.
And they ended up putting me on the last 2 shows. So then I ended up doing, I think, like 9 out of the 10 shows or 10 out of the 11 shows or whatever. And we got off that tour, and then 2 weeks later, he announced that he was doing like a 19 show run.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to be on that run. Like
right.
I need to, because that first tour was just like the East Coast.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I need to tour the country. I need to experience that. And I hit him nonstop. You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, I'll drive the tour van. Like I will drive.
Yeah.
And dudes didn't believe me, but I actually do drive. Like I'm a driver. I love to drive. So I knew that would bring value to the team and also would save them money and would make me feel better because I get car sick if I sit in the back. So
Win-win.
yeah. So like for me, it was just, you know, continuously making sure I'm bringing value, whether it be helping them with their setup, driving the van so it allows for everyone else to rest. And then just making sure I'm putting on the best show possible and making sure that those fans know that when Anis comes out, like they're at the peak of their energy so that when he hits that stage, it's an explosion of energy, you know, and so far it's worked out.
Absolutely, man. And I remember one time you had said something where you focused on being an asset, not a liability.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really important quote because it's like even though you were by yourself pressing play on a MacBook,
Yeah.
You didn't have a DJ, you didn't have a band, you were by yourself on this tour. So this was like you were just out there having to provide for yourself, and I'm assuming you were paying for everything too, getting paid minimally probably.
Yeah.
And it's just like that was an investment of your time and your energy and like being that guy that's willing to be an asset to the team, not just be someone that's just like on for the ride, just like trying to get paid and trying to get exposure. It's like, that's just like icing on the cake there.
Yeah.
The cake is you actually being there and grinding and like being a part of the team.
Right.
So that's
like I
how
said,
you saw it.
The money's going to come.
Exactly.
You know, and you never know where it'll come and what opportunities are going to come from it. But for me, it was like any artist that goes in and their first thought is like, well, how much am I getting paid? Where's the money? It's like, bro, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
Already.
We're supposed to be here making music and inspiring people and gaining lifetime fans. Don't get me wrong. We all need money. So I'm not going to discredit the money part. But if that's your first motivation, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
You know, so I do it for the passion. I do it to change people's lives because I know growing up, music was a release for me. It was a form of therapy and it helped change my life.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, man. Man, I love this. This is great. So, yeah, we talked about Anis, and I kind of want to talk about like your own records now too, because after all this stuff happened, you went on these tours. Your album "Long Way From Home" went number 2 on iTunes R&B charts.
Yep.
It was like right under SOS SZA. Like that was crazy.
Yeah,
and,
crazy.
Like I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Whoa, dude!
Yeah.
Like that's another shift right there, where it's just like now the masses are starting to recognize."
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, you know, it came at a time where like people weren't really dropping, right? And I did that strategically. You know, I'm an independent artist. I can drop whenever. Major label artists don't really drop at the end of the beginning of the year because the industry just shut down for a little while for the holidays, and then they're picking back up.
That was in January, right?
Yeah. And obviously like people aren't buying albums as much anymore.
Right.
So for me, I didn't expect anything, to be honest with you. And I remember I actually, again, I was at Anis's house for a week we were doing content, right? It was like content week. And I was driving home and I was dead tired. Because my man's like to stay up late, and needs to be staying up late. It's like 3:30, 4 a.m. and I'm an early bird, so I was just lacking on sleep, and I'm driving back from Virginia to Connecticut, and I remember just like randomly looking up my album because it dropped that day, and it was at number 2 on iTunes, and I was like, between SZA and Silk Sonic,
Bruno Mars,
and
Anderson .Paak.
I'm like, yo. Like I caught a spark. I'm like, hey, yo, this is
hold on.
I'm like, is this real? Like what? And it just was like it was a great moment for me and for the people that support me, for them to see that we're making an impact. Whether it's it's not the top 40, it's not Billboard, it's not this, but it's like, yo, this dude from Newington, Connecticut, who makes music in his basement with very minimal support, is top 2 on the R&B charts, next to like some of the greats, and knowing that I deserve to be there. I worked hard to be there.
For sure.
It was a beautiful moment.
Absolutely, man. And it's cool that it's just so random too, where it's not like you knew that it was going to happen, because sometimes some of those things can be like, hey, we're going to get you at number 2 on the chart, or something. We're going to put you on number 1 or whatever.
For like, hey, what?
Yeah.
Hey, yo, nah, for real?
Yo.
Oh, okay. Like it was really that. So
dang, dude. Yeah, because I remember that, because I was listening to you for a while. Like, I think it was like around when I saw like Futuristic start to post your stuff, and like kind of saw you guys working together in like 2020, 2021, I think is when I first like caught wind, when you were still doing like mainly like your studio and stuff. And you did like Pass the Wine, like that type of that energy.
Yep.
So like to see that, I was like, dang, dude, like the rest of the world's finally waking up.
and I think
crazy.
that's the dopest part about my journey, right? Is that if you've been following me for a long time, you know how long I've been doing this, and how many obstacles I've had to overcome to do it, and you're watching this unfold, and it's unfolding beautifully, right?
Man.
And if you're just jumping on, you get that sense of satisfaction of like, yo, I feel like I just discovered the artist that's about to blow up and become a superstar.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like, yo, I'm just happy people accept the music that I make, because a lot of times we all make music that we never know where it's going to go, or who's going to listen to it, or if people are going to embrace it. And so just to be embraced by complete strangers in such a manner in which they believe so deep in the art that I create, and the talent that I possess, it's so beautiful to just like witness and be a part of, and in return, like I just don't want to let people down, so it's like when they're like, yo, you're gonna blow, I know, it's like, okay, like I got to do this for them, like it's not even for me anymore, it's for them too. So I think that's dope.
Yeah, man, I love to see it, bro. So we did kind of briefly touch on the Euro tour, and I just before we start to close out a little bit, I want to talk about that, like how that kind of changed your life in a sense, because that's again like another level up, where it's just like now you're an international artist. You could say you've gone on international tours, and you have international fans, and you were getting those crowds going. Like B Menace was doing those crazy recaps and showing like all the amount of people, and like I said earlier, you were getting all those people to two-step. Like they had no idea who you were really.
And just like the language barrier.
Oh, right.
Italy, Portugal, like Germany, like these are people that don't speak English as their first language.
Right.
And so, I learned a lot about touring internationally too, where it's like, yo, I can't talk as fast. I can't tell the same jokes that I normally tell, because some people don't understand them. Their way of life is different than ours. Wow. But the one difference is that music is universal. Yeah. So it's like, you might not understand what I'm saying in between the songs, but when you feel that music and you hear the melodies, like people don't need to hear the lyrics. If the melody sounds good and the music sounds good and it moves them, it's going to move them.
They're in.
And they'll go listen to it afterwards.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like being able to see so many different ways of life, cultures, just being around places that I've always dreamed about going. Like my biggest dream was to go to Italy and have pasta in Italy, as a little kid. And so the fact that I was able to do that for the first time and perform my music and gain fans in that country, like, bro, like we're just checking things off bucket list after bucket list item. And it's definitely something that I'll always cherish, the opportunity and the ability to now say, yes, I am an international touring artist. And I also did it on my own dime.
Yeah, it's a very full circle moment where it's like these investments of time and money and energy that you've been putting in for all these years is like coming around where it's like your childhood dreams of going to Italy are fulfilled by entertainment.
Yep.
And that's
facts.
Oh man, I love to see it. And so what you said you got a tour coming up in January with the niece.
Yep.
So do you have any new music dropping other than like the Christmas stuff that just dropped? Like I know you're pushing that right now kind of because of the season. But you got anything else in the pipeline?
We definitely, this year, last year I only released 6 songs. So this year, one of my biggest goals is to release more frequently. I definitely have a lot in the tank. And I think people deserve it, right? Like I've been touring these records that I've had out, but I'm ready to give them new material and just new vibes and new feels. So yeah, you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff this year, different and different genres, different emotions, different feels. You also get like a collab album with somebody that I'm working on an album with right now, that I think is really dope, and just being very passionate about everything, just everything that I put out. I just want to feel good about it and be happy with it. And so, yeah, this year will be 4 or 5 times the amount of music that I put out last year. And just really getting back to the music. Touring takes a toll on you. Traveling so much takes a toll on you. So I think it's time to, have a year filled with music, and then I'll tour it all again and keep moving like that. But yeah, I want to give people as much music as I can this year.
Hell yeah, I love that, man. And I did bring my guitar out because I told Mike when he got here, I was like, hey, bro, I learned one of your songs this morning if you want to try to perform it. So are you down to try it?
Yeah, let's hey, we'll see how it goes.
See how it goes. Yeah. I mean, I just learned it today, and Mike's, fresh. He hasn't warmed up or anything like that, but I want to try it. This is a song called Coffee that I just feel like is one of those songs that like when you hear it, you get the goosebumps, and you got crazy vocals on it, man. And
let's do it.
Yeah, let's give it a go. So my fellow Martians, give me 1 second. We're going to set this up, and then we'll be right back.
Just know if it goes bad, you'll never hear it.
If it doesn't go well, it will not be part of the pod.
If you listen to the podcast and then all of a sudden Coffee doesn't play, it's because we fucked it up. This is a Harry Mars exclusive.
I thought I knew what love was until the day that I met you. From that day forward, I told you I'd always be there. And every time you would call me, I would come running for you, baby. Yeah. We were living on a prayer, young and so unaware. And now when you're gone, I'm feeling part of me soon. It's like when you're gone, the world turns cold, and I can't wait till I'm back with you, yeah. How can I know it sounds crazy, but I can't live without you. I'm addicted, it's a problem only you can solve for me. I find I'm losing my mind, and it seems darker without you. I love everything about you, girl. I need you to see. You're my coffee in the morning, you're my sugar at the dinner time, you're my sunshine in the afternoon, you're my warmth in the wintertime. That's all we can give them. That's all we can give them. That's all they get. That's all they get. That's Coffee right there. Harry Mars, Michael Minelli.
You are now tuned in to the motherfucking greatest.
On Mars. Thank you, my fellow Martians. And go follow Mike online.
Yes,
It's
sir.
at Mr. Minelli on socials.
Don't F it up.
Yeah.
MRMINELLI.
Handle right here. Go follow him right here.
Yeah.
Go listen to his music. Go support him. If you are going to see him on tour, if you're going to, go to the Anise tour, support this man too. Buy his merch because, he's going to be out there funding it himself. You know what I'm saying? Independent artists, support your local independent
Self-made
artists.
thousandaire right here.
Yeah.
Okay, self-made thousandaire.
Yes, man. So let me put this away. Oh, man. That was a great interview. Thank you so much again for coming on, Mars, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you for allowing me to spread some wisdom in my story. I think that's something that is very powerful these days, is that artists aren't just their music, but there's so much behind the camera and the mic. And so thank you for allowing me to be here and tell all these beautiful people my story and a little piece of me.
Absolutely, man. So again, go follow Mike online. Follow at On Mars Pod on Instagram and socials as well. And we'll see you guys next time on Mars. Love you. Peace. Hell yeah. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this episode of the On Mars Pod and for sticking around to the end, man. I really appreciate you guys. You are the real Martians. Like this video, comment below what your favorite part was, what was most inspiring to you. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications here on future interviews coming out soon, and also follow us on Instagram at On Mars Pod. Love you guys so much. We will see you next time on Mars.
Clap for him. Make them booty cheeks clap for him. Yeah. I'll do the whole interview while Rubik's cubing, okay? No. Yeah, because I'll just be looking at how pretty I am. Kids official is Alyssa. And the Fiji water? Come on, stop playing with them. Y'all podcasters out there, take a lesson from my guy Harry, okay? He does it right over here. He got the poured coffee, the drip coffee.
Yes, sir.
The Fiji water. Come on. My bad. I fucked it up. I fucking fucked it up. Fuck.
It's all good.